my voice changed. It was higher due to pregnancy. It's lowered my register. So I can go really low. Thanks to my acid reflux, I am Madrigal Seline.
How would you like to describe that character?
Ambitious, strong women that will do anything to get to their goals. And it is so fascinating always to see a woman in this position. For me, it's endlessly entertaining.
Is there something that you and Celine kind of share in common?
Just wanting something, knowing you can do it. Even if the world's telling you you can't, someday you can.
Before we jump into the conversation, I gotta mention the comment of the day because this one is coming from Henry, who commented on the episode of Matthew Porretta that I interviewed recently. Amazing interview, brother. Matthew is a great guy. It's good to see his point of view about some stuff in the story, like that scene with Alice. I guess Darling is going to be a major character in the RCU, considering Alan is now free from the dark presence and Zane is still trying to get out. Well, thank you so much for the comment, Henry. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It was so cool to know or hear from Matthew about scenes like Alice, which is quite different and quite heavy in the game like Alan Wake. And I love that moment. And it was so cool to talk to Matthew as well. If you want your comment to be featured in the comment of the day in every single episode, you can comment right down in this episode as well. And now let's start the conversation with Christina Giagos, who played Madrigal Seline in No Rest for the Wicked.
Oh my gosh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's been a wonderful time to see how the game has been doing. A lot of people are playing it. I'm dying in it all the time. But how's been your 2024 in this year, the start till now? How has it been for you?
It's been pretty exciting. I mean, I have a kind of an insider look because my husband's actually the head of animation.
Yeah.
So he's the real star. I mean, you should be talking to him, but fine. I guess you'll have me. But it's been pretty exciting because it's been a long journey. I was kind of asked to step in and help with just scratch voices a couple of years ago. And then when they just happened to I just kind of fit into this character of Madrigal Seline. I just, it felt like an old friend. I don't know. I just instantly connected to her. So to answer your question, 2024 has been super exciting and stressful because I'm seeing all the build up to the actual release. I mean, there was just a lot of work to do and it's very stressful. And but it's been very exciting. And I'm so happy that people seem to like it, like the game and my character.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think the moment when the character first, I get to see her in the screen, I was intimidated at first point. I'm like, I think she is one of those people who is, I'm not going to feel good when I meet her finally, like as a character meets the person or something. I felt like, oh, this is going to be interesting because I wanted to know immediately what's going on with her. And over the time, I kind of know like, okay, she's very interesting. So I really liked how her character was. And you did a fantastic job. I loved how you portrayed this role and was, yeah, giving me that intimidating vibes. Maybe probably it's just me. I was probably just the one who was intimidated, but I think it's just one of those things. I just thought it was really cool.
No, it's a good sign. It's good.
Yes. And it's interesting. You've done so many roles before. You've done theater. You've done some shows. Do you remember the time when you decided to okay, let's go acting. Let's try this out.
It's kind of something that's just always been in me. And early on when I was younger, I like 10, 12, I mean, I was always in plays. I was always in plays in junior high school and I kind of got the lead and I was funny and outgoing and the confidence was there. But, in middle school, people haven't really developed their musical talent or their other talents yet. So it's kind of easy to get ahead that young. And then high school hits and you're like, you audition for a musical and you're like, I don't have to sing that well. Yes, you do. By high school, people are just pros. So I was living in LA and I went to Van Nuys High School Performing Arts Magnet and you're with many professionals. And I just felt, oh my gosh, I just felt like such a loser. But I kept on it. I said, it's just something in me and I just have to do this. So I always was making skits and I was in the plays, even if I didn't have the lead, I was in plays. And I never took a small part for granted. I love it. I mean, you give it your all. You do everything to the best of your ability. And I pulled focus sometimes, which is not always a great thing, but I feel like I just honored every little role. So it's just always been something that I've been into. And then I pursued it after I went to the British American Dramatic Academy in Oxford, England, and it was just a 4-week program, and I just kept going.
Oh, that's cool. I am happy that you kept on going. Like that's very important. I feel like if anybody who likes a certain thing that they want to do and then they choose to do it, and but the most important thing is like continuing to do it and trying to keep moving and trying to do maybe new things and keep on focusing on what you want to do, and that's pretty cool. And you mentioned there's some moments where, and I believe there must be some moments where you must have some challenges in your kind of the early times and maybe throughout the career, like where you might be doubting yourself from like, is this a good path? Is this the right thing that I'm doing? Do you remember those challenges, or do you remember one of the most biggest challenge in your life, like as an actor?
I feel like my whole life has been a challenge. Like nobody opened a door for me. I mean, in LA, I waited tables. I did workshops that some people suggested, and maybe they got a casting director that noticed them. Didn't work for me. I went to a certain acting teacher, and they got maybe an agent out of that or something. Didn't work for me. And somehow I feel like I just attract this kind of weird luck, and maybe bad luck. Like maybe it's me manifesting something. But for example, I went on a hand commercial, and they're okay. They're weathered now. Did a lot of dishes. I'm a mom. And that one time in my life, I had a wart outbreak on my fingers. And it's like, what? And I couldn't. And it was like it was like going to be like a well-paid audition. And I went across town. I borrowed a car. I was working a temp job. I begged to like go to Santa Monica from the east side, and I went and auditioned. I had Band-Aids on my 2 fingers, and the woman said, take those off. And so I took them off and I showed her my hand, and she's like, no. So that whole effort to get there for just this easy no. And I mean, I have like, it's always like that. I was pregnant with my second child during the pandemic. So, well, after the pandemic, 2021. Anyway, I just, nothing was going on. So I didn't even bother to tell my commercial agent that I was pregnant. And sure enough, I hadn't heard from him in years. And he calls me and he says, you have a straight to call back for a car commercial. Can you, and I was like, oh my God. Oh, okay. But I'm like very pregnant. And he's like, what? You didn't tell me that. And even my husband was like, damn, what is with you? But also, whenever there was a high stakes audition, I got so nervous in the room and the competition. And I know I have the goods, but I just, at least that's what my acting teachers told me, but maybe they said that because I pay them, but I don't know.
I don't think so.
But I was overcome. I have this crazy stage fright too, which compounds everything. When I'm in a play, driving to the play every night, I'm just shaking. And I'm like, why am I even doing this? I hate this. And then the minute I get on stage, I'm like, okay, fine. But yeah, the stage fright in a high stakes, like, oh my God, a TV show or like a movie. I mean, just getting in the door for me was years in the making. And then you finally get in the door, and I think all those years of like suffering and hoping and praying, and then the pressure was just too much, and I bombed so hard. So and then the drive home, you just want to, and then there's hope. You're like, maybe they'll still call me, maybe they liked something. But it's the humiliation of it all, and just the and I think the psychotic nature of wanting to still do this, you have to be born with it. It has to be like something you still want to go to do. It has to be just so deep inside of you that you suffer all of this torture and torment. I mean, the definition of insanity is to do things over and over. But the hope is always still there. It's still there that I want to, keep going. I
Wow.
actually I found something after years of kind of hit and misses, and I'm like, maybe I just don't want this. Maybe that's why I bombed these auditions. And I took improv classes, and I avoided comedy for a long time because I was scared. Because in drama, if you do drama and you don't make people laugh, it's okay.
Yeah.
You don't make people laugh in comedy, you're a bust. You're failed if you failed. So, but I have a penchant for comedy. My husband would say, if somebody says that, that means they're not good at comedy. So I'm like, oh, shoot, you're not going to believe me. But anyway, people told me I did. So I avoided it for so long. And then finally in LA, there's this like underground clown community. Now it's blowing up, but a few years ago, it was kind of bubbling up, and it's like kind of it was like a fork in the road from improvisation. There was this clown, and it's like this European clowning, where you're performing like improv, but you can do bits and sketches, and the main, just the main thing that you have to remember is to be vulnerable and to play to the best of your ability and not to fake anything and connect, make eye contact with your audience. And if something's not working, you have to let it feel. You have to feel all the emotions. You cannot look away. You have to share. Like if I did something that I thought was ridiculous, and you have to be willing to be an idiot. You have to let go of your ego and just bare your soul. And I'm like, it's such a niche, hard, it's the most difficult form of comedy. And I'm like, why did I pick this? Because man, I suffered and I cried. And my husband was like, why are you doing this? But when you can make a room full of people laugh, like genuine belly laugh, because of your vulnerability, I mean, it's the best thing on this planet. So I did find, and I started doing bits and sketches all around LA. And then I got pregnant and I had my baby, and then I realized how much time you don't have for those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and then I had a second baby. So it's just
Exhausting.
does that answer your question? I'm sorry.
I think so. Let me see. No, it really does. Wow, it's incredible because, and not saying like, what you have gone through, like that's incredible. Like, the thing is like, I can relate that in some ways, in the sense of like how I get stage fright all the time. And it's
You do?
all the time. It's like even today, even literally today, I was like, oh gosh, I told her to push this interview an hour later. Oh my God. And then right before 5 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, I have already told her to push it to the next day. I told her to push it an hour ago. What was she feeling? All that stuff. So like that happens every time. I'm like all these 64 people I got to talk to. Every time I'm extremely nervous, and I try to do the best job. Before, like when I started, I was insane. Now I'm a little better, but like that thing is always there, and then there's doubts all the time and stuff like, why did I do this? Why did I pick this? I should not have picked this. But like at the same time, like I get that energy to go to do it still. To still maybe because I don't want to regret it the next day. I'm like, oh, I didn't do. Like that's the regret I don't want to kind of face. So I completely understand you, and that's such a insane journey that you got to go through. And I'm so happy that you continue to do what you want to do, pursue acting, to continue and do auditions. Because like I know, like a lot of people, actors, or probably not a lot of people know, but actors usually get a lot of auditions, and most of the time they probably get rejected, and then there are a few ones that they do get accepted, and they go and perform. But in your case, you have done so many different roles, you've done so many classes. How do you keep that motivation flowing through you so that, the next day you wake up, you're going to try again?
I don't know, but plus also I love to hear that you have stage fright too. I just love that because it's so human, and
Yeah.
I was nervous too. For anyway, love it. Um, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I still wake up every day with hope. With like when I watch a new TV show, I get inspired, and sometimes I get frustrated. I'm like, I want to be in that show or that movie. But I don't know, and it could be, it's been a long time since I've been on the stage, and I also moved to Spain. My husband's Spanish, and we moved to Mallorca. I made things even more difficult for myself. Like, where the hell am I going to perform here? But I know I can make it. I've got a solo show, a solo clown show that I've got in my pocket. I think it's good when you are a creative person and you work on your own stuff too.
Yeah.
Like, not just waiting around for the call, because that can be crazy making. And I think that my projects, even though I don't get to them on a daily basis, I think that's what keeps me alive. I'm like, well, I do have that children's book I wrote, or I do have that solo show that I started before I got pregnant. It was like about my fertility problems, and like I will get that, and then I do have ideas, and then when I get to do my clown stuff for my kids, like, a clown always brings a surprise, and that's kind of what makes an audience like laugh. And then if they laugh, you look at them and you do it again. It's child's play. It's child's play, and like when I can like divert a tantrum or a bad feelings through my clowning with them, it's such a gift. And I think my journey for finding all of that, like everything that I've been through, I think that's what also makes you like an interesting clown. Like, if you can, and that clowning also gives me, I know it sounds insane. It sounds insane. I've said clown so many times. You don't have to be young. You don't have to be beautiful. You can be a great clown, like on your deathbed, because it's important for the audience to see your humanity, to see your life, your tears, the lines on your face from how hard you've worked to get to this point. I mean, if you just walk on stage and you're dressed up, I remember this one guy was dressed up, this grown man dressed up as a cowboy, and all he was asked to do was just give a neutral glare, like a look into the audience, and he killed. We laughed so hard because we saw his life in this stupid cowboy outfit. This grown man was just like, like giving you all of his life's failures. So I again, I'm sorry if this is so long-winded, but I think that's what keeps me going. This my own creativity, and also the possibility. I don't feel like it's over yet. I just feel like some days I feel like it's just beginning.
That's really good. Yeah, I love that, and I'm so happy that you have that feeling in you, because a lot of people have, like, they start something and they are very passionate about it, and then they go by doing it, and then things don't kind of work out and their motivation drops down, which is fine, but they are not able to drive it back up, or they immediately feel like, oh, this has failed and there's no retry, like there's no trying again, and they just stop it and move on and try and probably complain about it and whatnot. But like, I'm glad that you decided to continue to do, because you really love the art, you really love performing, and that's pretty cool, and that's why you are now in this game of No Rest for the Wicked, playing Madrigal Seline, which is pretty cool. And was this your first voiceover role ever, or like this, you have done the voiceover roles before?
I've done ages ago. I did a voiceover commercial for Church's Chicken and Waffles. This was 100 years ago. Okay. And then I did narration for a documentary on speakeasies and flappers by my friend Anthony Mercaldo. What's up, Anthony? And then I I also did the voice of Mabel Normand in another. She's a 40s, a 1930s actress, and she was basically like the Charlie Chaplin of her era. Anyway, I did her. Did I do her voice or narration? I think I did her voice. So those were the two forays into like voiceovers, but that was a long time ago too. But you know, my voice changed. It was higher due to pregnancy and all the lovely things that happen when you're pregnant. I got like, apparently my voice was hoarse for a very long time. I was like, do I have permanent laryngitis? And then I finally went to check it out, and they said, because the baby's pushing on all your organs, maybe moving things around, the acid is coming up, the acid from your food. So I had terrible acid reflux, and it was coming up so high, gross. It was affecting my vocal cords. So it's your esophageal sphincter. Oh my God, this is so gross. Anyway, it's a flap, the bottom of your esophagus, that keeps all the acids in your belly. When it gets affected by acid or you have some problems, it kind of like opens up, or it has a problem closing, and that's when the acid comes up. So that was my problem. And it's lowered my register. So I can go really low like this. Wow. And I even got lower before. Nobody knows the trouble I feel. Anyway, my party trick. It's actually getting better, but it was a really low and hoarse. So thanks to that, thanks to my acid reflux, I am Madrigal Seline, like, because I tapped into my low, kind of serious, like, who would I be if I were in this position of power? And who would I be if I were this ambitious and, you know, wanted this. And I just dropped down into my new low register and threw on an English accent. And when so it started off as a scratch temporary voice, because the actress that they had as they call, you know, as the scratch artist for all the female characters as they were working on the game, was a busy working actress, if I'm not mistaken. And she was sometimes hard to get a hold of. And so my husband said, well, you know, my wife is an actress and she's not busy. Just kidding. She's right here.
Okay.
So they said, well, you know, I'm a new mom hanging around. And so they said, well, let's give her a try. So I did a few voices, and for like some other characters, and then Seline. And then when my husband asked me to do Seline, I went over the top. And this is where clown came in, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for it. And you have to sometimes be so fearless as an artist, and if your ego goes away, you have to be willing to sound and look like a fool, you know, and be so vulnerable that you go to those places. And I went there, and when I was done, I was embarrassed. It was like this embarrassed laughter. Like I was like, oh my, you know, we both started laughing, but there was something there. It was like the beginnings of her. And when our wonderful writers and director heard it, they said, okay, something there, but like, let's bring her down, you know, because the writing is so good and so powerful. Like, we can't make her a caricature, like the over the top, you know, this villain that, you know, from fairy tales. I don't know. We wanted to make her a little more subtle, because it's in the writing too, you know. So I get so much from the character, from the writing. I just read it and I'm like, I get it. So that's what I say. I feel like I didn't have to do so much character study or anything, like, you know, write her whole history. It doesn't happen with every character that you play, but with her, it's like she comes. It sounds insane, but I feel like she just comes to me. She just she jumps into my body. That's insane.
I don't think so. That's insane. I totally understand that, because I was talking to another actress and she was saying the same thing, how this character like kind of possesses me in some ways. And like I'm that person now. Like, and then you just go and do it. It's just like very, it's like you are that person. It's just like normal at this point. Like you're not trying to, you're just that character now. So I totally
Yeah.
understand that. And it's so cool to know that because she's so civil, and so she has to be like down in terms of like how the pitch and how it should be sounding. And I cannot imagine how it must be. Were you nervous the first day of like the recording process and stuff like that? Were you nervous on that day?
Yeah, there's nerves,
Yeah.
but there was something a little more calm. Like I always thought, like if I could just always eliminate the audition process and just get the role,
Yeah.
it would be so much easier, so much better.
Yeah.
Right? There's a calmness that comes over you when you get the part. Like you're like, okay, I mean, now I'm here to work. So there is a little bit of nerves, but I had to check myself. I'm like, no, you know her, and your writers and directors are there with you. We had to Zoom it all. We have this beautiful studio in Palma, in the center of Mallorca, that I get to go record in, and they're lovely. It's a beautiful studio, and Frederick, the man that runs it, it's always such a pleasant experience. And then we connect with Formosa and then our writers and director, and it couldn't be more calming and peaceful. And we just, I don't know, I just have my script, and like a calm comes over me. Maybe the first, like, it's like, oh, how's my voice sounding? And then when you hear yourself in the cans, you're like, oh, okay. And then once you kind of drop in, maybe like a few minutes in, it's fine. So yeah.
Something new comes up, and I'm usually very nervous about that. So it sometimes takes over, and I'm not able to do the thing that I'm supposed to be doing because I'm so probably thinking about the outcome and what's going to happen. And that stays up there instead of can I do this to make the best thing possible, instead of I'm not focusing on that. So that always is a challenge. And I think it's important to try and focus and give the best performance that you can give. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Improv helps with that.
Oh.
Improvisation classes help keep you, because sometimes you have a tendency to be on the back line, and you're trying to think of the most clever thing to say. But every time you come out with a premeditated something clever and you go for the joke, it bombs. If you stay in the present, you kind of go with the flow and are adaptable and changeable. I feel like that's the thing. It's improv, right? I mean,
yeah.
Who would think that it would give you like a life lesson?
Yes. Wow. Who would have thought that those things can help out in such different ways? But no, you're right. It is mostly improv in some ways. And yeah, I think it's important to, I think eventually kind of we learn over time, maybe too long sometimes. We eventually kind of learn how to do some things right. But yes. It's pretty interesting how like you were talking about how the directors would tell you to how you have to kind of lower down the voice in order to what they wanted to make her sound like. Did you had like an idea in mind initially on how she should be sounding like, or how you should be performing her like?
It wasn't really like lowering the register. It was like quieting her down. Like it wasn't like, because I went really big, like let's say, the pestilence sacra, like I think I went really big, but I still had a really low voice, like, you will not, like, and it was like, tone it down, be like more of a talking, because again, so I didn't have to go big. I mean, the character will evolve. I can't say too much. There's definitely like a journey, and there's, she's not one-dimensional.
Yeah.
But it was very much feeling her power with like simplicity, like feeling her power. You don't have to, like, very powerful people. If you can just sit in your power and just own it and lower your register, right? And you're here. You can command a room with raising an eyebrow if you hold that command. Like, you don't have to scream, you don't have to yell. I think an interesting take, which I really respect the writers and director for going this route, is feeling the chill of the quiet, the stillness in her. Like, otherwise it gets hysterical. I mean, it's in there, it's in the writing. Like, you can, like you said, you were afraid of her. Like, you can just her presence.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a disservice to her if we went bigger, if we went over the top when it doesn't need to be, in certain circumstances, like, and I don't think there'll ever be an over the top. I think it's going to be always very real to the situation, what she's going to go through.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we want to keep it real, like keep it very, very, from a truthful, whatever she says or however she acts, it's coming from a very truthful place. Like, she's very, like I said, ambitious, and she's got this devotion to God, and I think when you're that devoted and you're that religious, you carry this certain power. It's like like there's some force helping you. It's otherworldly than just mere mortals that don't believe that strongly spiritually. I sometimes envy that in this character, or in people that have that strong faith that can help carry you through, and make you think that you are this strong thing. I just have too many doubts personally, but I do respect faith and belief, because I think it helps you as a person.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, you're right. One thing that you did mention was having doubts, and that's the thing that says, like, I was printed with that. I've always have these doubts all the time, and that's always a thing that comes in my head. Like, even if I know what I can do, like, even if I know I can do this, I still have those doubts. Like, but that those things come around when people having that kind of faith and belief in such strong ways that they can just go, like, they just I guess float or just move ahead. And then I think, Celine is in many ways that, and how you mentioned how she doesn't need to scream, she doesn't need to shout to show her presence. She can just speak as quietly as possible, and everybody I think is going to obey her, what she has to say, the orders that she has to give. How would you like to describe Madeline? How would you like to describe that character?
Yeah, I mean, fiercely ambitious. She's got this. She's an opportunist. She's got this opportunity now with the new king. She's got some influence, and she's going to take it.
Yeah.
And she's not going to let much stop her. And I think there's vulnerability in her too, which also makes her. I think that's also clever in the writing and how we're playing her, how I'm playing her now, because in the softness there is vulnerability. Maybe it's not like completely a passive vulnerability, but it's there. She is taking everything in, and she is like reacting and forceful. I'm just scared to say too much because I've been given like this little thing to work with, because we haven't seen too much of her. So I can definitely say there's more to come.
Yeah.
And it'll be cool when maybe we can have like a 5-minute chat or 10-minute revisit later, and we can talk more about her.
Absolutely.
As you see her, journey. But I just really do love, like, it's really powerful. It's really fun playing someone this powerful, and like, it's just there. I'm like, do I want to, how did I tap into this so quickly? I'm like, who like, do I want this? No. But it's just like, I think it's all the heroines, like Shakespeare, it's like Lady Macbeth, it's like, all of our really ambitious, strong women that will do anything um, to get to their goals. And it is so fascinating always to see a woman in this position. For me, it's endlessly entertaining.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, it's just like kind of inherent in men's characters. There's so many of them, but when we have this kind of a powerful woman, my eyes are always like, ding, yes, please.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and you know what? I just have to say, I forgot to say this. I did actually go through the audition process. Like, it wasn't just handed to me. I did. So I was doing scratch voices for the other characters and Celine as well. And then, I think like the guys at the top, Gennady and Thomas, liked my voice. They said, we already like her. So they, I kept getting to do her scratch voices, and then came the auditioning time. So we had me. We already knew what I could do, but they auditioned professional actresses as well for the role. And that's when I thought, I was like, this is it. Like, I'm gonna lose it. I got so depressed, and my husband was like, don't say that. You're in the running, like you're in it. And I was like, I can't. I'm like, can I take a sleeping pill for the next 2 weeks? But then I think it was down to one or two, or one other person in me, and I got the part.
Yay.
So it did go through the formal processes, and it wasn't just because I'm sleeping with the animation director.
Well, that didn't work. No, I'm happy that there was audition process, and I'm so happy that you got the part regardless. That shows how dedicated you were on that role. And that shows how good you are. So congrats on that again, for being this character and playing this role. And I know there's more to come. Like, we don't have the full length game out yet, but there's like more to come, and I'm excited to see what more there is, because I was immediately drawn to her. I think she was the first character I was like drawn to mostly. Then the player character, like the person we were trying to control, I was really drawn to her. So I just really immediately wanted to know in like the first 30 minutes. I really wanted to know what she is like, because that, out of all the other characters, she was shining the most somehow. And then later on, as I went forward, I was like, oh my God, okay, there's more. But there's one line that as you mentioned, like, she has that kind of, in some ways, a faith in God. There's one line that I really liked, and I wrote it down. She said, I've given my life to God 1,000 times over, and God in turn has made my life an arrow. And I was like, that's wonderful. Like, that's such a belief, which is, it's insane. And she is very strong in that.
Yes. Yeah. That's what when we talked with the writers and director, Jeremy Nick and Teal, about that. Like, it's like God is it's her everything. It's her family. It's her undying devotion, and like she's just that she's not trying to be religious or pious or anything. It's like she is.
Yeah.
It's like that, and that's another, I know this sounds insane again, but it's another clown parallel. Clown doesn't always have to be funny. It's like the thing that I like about it is it's these truisms. Like, what makes a successful and funny clown is that you're not trying to be something, you just are. And that's how I think Celine is. Yeah, like what I was saying, like she just is. And I think that's people who tend to rise to power are like those people. They're not trying to be someone, they are. And like she is that. She does want to take this journey, and she is doing it for God, and she is doing it for her relationship with God, and like, and then she'll take what comes with it, because she's also very ambitious.
Well, we'll jump back into the conversation in just a bit, but I just want to say that I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. And if you're doing, consider subscribing to this channel because you will see much more episode every single week. Hopefully, at least that's what I'm trying to do. But more importantly, this podcast takes a lot more time, dedication, effort. It takes a lot to make this episode or every single episode happen. And so I need a little bit of your help, and you can help me by being a member of this channel. And being a member has its own perks. You can get announcement early on who's going to be the next guest. Your questions for the guest will 100% be picked, and you will get to see these episodes quite early than anybody else in an unedited format. Not only that, you might see some behind the scenes moments as well as extra footages that were not shown publicly in the main episode. So consider becoming a member of this channel because it will help me directly in making much better episodes every single week for every one of you. And now it's time to go back to the conversation. Now at this point, you are able to be her. Like, it's not like a thing you try to do. So is there something that you and Celine kind of share in common, or is it something that you also learned from her?
Oh my God, such a good question. I don't know if I share that much with her. I'm so filled with self-doubt. But maybe it's this, like, maybe deep down why I haven't given it all up, acting wise, why I do feel, because I do feel like I have something to give. Like there's something deep down. There's that little girl who's 6 years old who wants to be an actress, or who knows she can, who has, I'm like, I have this emotional life in me. I mean, I can cry as easily as I can laugh. I feel the world's pain so deeply. And I think the difference is that I don't go out and do what it takes to take what is mine. I don't do that. But so that's where we're very different. But I think that, I don't know, being able, just wanting something, knowing you can do it, even if the world's telling you can't.
Yeah.
Knowing that someday you can. And maybe that's what I feel like. Maybe there's some kind of a connection, or maybe I've even learned that from her. And I think there's more learning to do from her on this journey. But I mean, I just drop in it, and she's just fun. She gives me this chance to be someone like this, someone this, ambitious and ruthless. Like we all have deep desires, even in our subconscious, like that we maybe are like, well, I wonder if I did this. I wonder if I, jumped in front of a moving train. Like, I wonder if I just did that. I wonder, like, I think that some of my internal desires are being met. And that's why maybe it's so fun to play her, and maybe it's some desires I didn't even know I had. But it is when I get to say these words and drop into her, I'm like, us. And she always kind of stands very straight in her back, and she's got this great posture, and she's always has her hands kind of in front of her. So I take her position, and there's something about that like gives me energy, and it's so fun. And sometimes my husband has me do some reference acting for him. Like he says, can you do reference acting to your own voice? So I'll actually, I'll move, or I'll get to do it. And some of that's in the game. So it's me. It's me on that level too.
Wow.
But again, it's this it's a joy to be this. Like you can't do this in real life,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I think like the closest I am to her in real life is like when somebody really wrongs me, and especially being in a new country. My Spanish is getting there, but if you can't defend yourself in the language, and maybe somebody's kind of taking taking advantage of that, that's when I just want to, I've answered somebody back in English, knowing full well that they probably didn't understand. But they have to feel your power.
Yeah.
You can't just take advantage of you because you're an immigrant, and in a new country. So you have to stand up for yourself. And I'm not used to doing that, but sometimes you have to. And I think that there's the Celine connection, because oh my God, I can really.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, the inner Celine in you kind of powered up, and now you're that. And that's amazing. To have the ability to, in some ways, you have learned and from her in some ways, and then you immediately sort of, you, without probably knowing, applying in your life, and it's just happening. And then later on, when you think about it, like, oh yeah, I did that. That was pretty cool. And yeah, it's pretty awesome to see some of these exchanges, I guess, happening within a person and the character. And it happens. I think every character goes through that, because they are being them. They're being that character. So eventually, some things will cross over. But it's the world of the game is so. I would not live in that world, obviously, but like it's a world. It's a very difficult world to live in, and there's so many things happening in that world, and monsters and stuff like that, and this uh, eh, community is kind of falling apart. If by any chance, if you as a person, if you would be in her shoes, in Celine's shoes, what would you be doing?
Oh, if I were in her shoes, I mean, I guess if I could infuse a little bit more of Christina in her, if I were literally in her shoes, maybe I would have just a touch more humanity, like
Yeah.
me. But it's a scary world. I mean, it's kind of like in her position, well, it's almost like kill or be killed, right?
Yeah.
It's like you've got this army behind you, and you've got to be this leader, and you're a woman, and you almost have to be more fierce than a man to
Yeah.
command this respect. So I think it would be hard for me to be in her shoes, because probably the things that she has to do because she's a woman would be hard, because like I'm a mom, and no matter how angry I get at the world and people, like my little humanity is reflected back at me every day. So it's like I can only go so far, and I think that it's probably a good thing she doesn't have children.
Yeah.
She's married to her position and where she wants to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I guess that's where I would kind of falter. That would be my disability in her position.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would be
What would
easy.
you do if you were? What would you do if you were in her shoes?
Oh,
in this crazy.
in her shoes. Well, I think everything will fall apart if I was in her shoes. I feel feel like, I mean, as you said, like, I think eventually you have to um build enough, I guess, courage, and you have to command, and you have to, otherwise you will die. It's like it's a try and die kind of situation. Like, if you don't try, you're done. So you have to do that. There's no other, you cannot think of the other humanity side of things, I think, at this point, because of how she is. So you cannot, so you have to go through her route eventually. Maybe if I, like, the moments when the players gets to see Celine, she's already there. But if I was in that point of time, I think I had shown that humanity, and then over time, I think I would have changed completely, because of how the world is. So it's a very cold world. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it'll be interesting to see what you think later too. I mean, as we all, they keep a lot from me too. So I'm
Yeah.
going to be excited to see, where does it show up, the humanity, where and if, so I have no idea. Like, I'm pretty much which is interesting too, because when you do a play, you read the script from beginning to end and end back again, and you study everything, and the moment just before and the coming moments, and you don't get that with a work that's still in development. So it's been interesting. That's why talking to the writers has been so important, and the
Absolutely.
director to keep me in the moment of what's happening right now.
Yeah, the game keeps on building up, and it's so much happening. And you said this is like this is your first video game project. Have you played any video games in your life ever, or that's not something you're interested
Oh my God, I knew you were going to ask this question.
in?
Listen, I probably would have continued beyond I had a Nintendo in my childhood, and my sister and I would play Mario Brothers and like Tetris and whatever else, all the Mario Brothers, but I was just so bad at it. I never got past like level 5, and my sister got to 8. She finished the game. I just never got there. And I think you get discouraged when you're bad at something. And this was not something it wasn't like acting or something else that I really wanted. That I was like, okay, I can leave it.
Yeah.
And Mortal Kombat. I mean, the only game my husband and I really played together, because he's a huge gamer. He is an encyclopedia. I mean, I'm telling you, he's the person you should be talking to. He knows everything, and he grew up in Spain, but he knows it all, and he's played every game, and he knows every, and I mean, I was once playing, oh my God, not The Witcher, the other one, the big one, the big game.
God. It's gonna be so many big...
It's a Polish... No.
Is there anything that you can give me? Maybe I can probably...
No, I don't know, but the controller moved.
Okay.
When the controller vibrates, and there was like this, like a monster or something coming. I don't. It scared me. I didn't know where it was coming from, and I think that probably excites a lot of people, and like that's what gets your adrenaline going. But like, I don't watch horror movies for a reason. Like, it affects my ability to experience joy. So those games, I was like, I'm scared. And then, so we went, when we were dating old school, we went Mortal Kombat, and he knows I'm not good and haven't played anything for years. Did he give me a chance? No, he kicked my ass. Like, I was like, can you give me, what is this? So he has no mercy. And I wish I could say that I've played games because I respect it, and the world that my husband over these past like 13 years has like opened. I watch him play, and like to be immersed in these stories, and I wish I could do it, because it seems like you're taken to another place.
Yeah.
And I can just, I know why sometimes he's up all night in this, and it seems more immersive and more exciting than just passively watching a movie.
Yeah.
And I wish I could do it. Maybe but I think I've written this story for myself that I don't play video games, that I just, and I respect it. I never tell my husband to stop playing, and like, he's already putting the controller in my 2-year-old and 4-year-old's hands, and I'm not that mom that is pissed about it. I'm like, that's what your father does for a living. Like, go for it. Like, learn early, and I'm happy. And plus, it's not for dum-dums. You gotta use your head, So I have mad respect to gamers and the world that I've been fortunate to have been able to now be a part of, but also just like be exposed to, thanks to my husband. So, I mean, I will play this game.
Oh, okay.
I will try. But I was watching my little nephew. He's 12 years old, trying to kill one of the monsters, and he was suffering. He was He was suffering.
Yeah, there's a lot of suffering in this game. Yeah.
My,
And it
my
is,
husband said,
yeah.
oh, sorry. My husband said, just to give you a hint, it's not about pressing all the buttons. It's about the strategy.
Yes.
That's the hint.
Yes, you're right. And this game, I think, requires a more. This game is one of those games where you require a lot of patience and a lot of, yeah, just a lot of patience. I guess that's the only thing it requires, because I am the one who is, when it comes to games, I'm very impatient. So I remember there was like point in the game where I'm supposed to defeat this giant monster he has, and it was very hard to do. And the game initially, because it's the first big monster that you're supposed to defeat, and the game was helping you in the sense of like, okay, because your weapons kind of get weaker as you fight, and then as you die, you revive, your weapons are weaker now. But there was a person right next to you who would repair it for free. And for that one particular big monster, and I kept on, and I feel like I've visited that person like 30 times, and it was like too many times I've died. So I was like, can I play this game? Should I? Why did I choose? So yeah, it's a very hard game for me, but I'm trying to get somewhere. But there are some other games which are like very cozy, very friendly, games which are in some ways kind of like you're watching a TV show and you're not doing much there. There's no win or loss. There's just you're witnessing a story. You're choosing decisions for that character on whether they should do A or B, and those are the decisions that pops up based on conversations, based on stuff like that. So those are some of the easier games, and at the same time have incredible stories, like literally heart wrenching stories. So there's all these different types of games that have all these different types of stories, and I think now more people are experiencing them slowly and slowly because games are being sort of transformed into series and movies now. So I'm happy that some people are getting their hands a little bit into games as well.
Yeah, that sounds like more up my alley, like something like that.
Yeah,
That,
there's a lot
do you
of
know
free games. Yeah.
Do you know the one where the it's like you're sliding down sand dunes?
Oh yes, I think it's called Journey. I could be wrong. I don't remember if that's it or not, but I remember like there's a game where you it's kind of like going down the sand. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're gliding. I mean, I watched that for hours. I was like, play this game. But look at me. I didn't even ask maybe I tried it once. I'm not sure, but I was in love because that took me to another place. I mean, now that we're talking about it, maybe I should, it was almost meditative. It felt so beautiful. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that I mean, it's a world that I wish I were a part of. I feel like I'm missing something big, but my brain won't let me sit still and learn something. But
No, I totally understand that. Yeah.
I'm honest when I say it. I'm like, when I hear and like I'm trying to see how people are liking this game and the fact that they're so in it and they're comparing they have their opinions and they reference some other games and this and that, and it's just the wealth of knowledge that these people have, and like all the hours spent playing these gorgeous games. I'm jealous. So maybe I'll I mean, my husband would be more than happy if I said, okay, educate me. Like, let's sit down, let's start from the beginning, give me a game. He would be more than happy. But now I have 2 kids and I have no brain power, and
Yeah.
at 9 p.m. I can't focus. I stare at I'm the one who, looks at the Netflix choices and I don't pick. I'm just trying to pick something. And then like an hour has gone by.
Yeah.
And I'm so tired. But I can't commit. So, but I'll try games, I swear.
Maybe one day. No, I completely understand.
Just keep in touch with me. Just give me some recs over, from time to time. Just pop a game my way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of games because I know a lot of I think a lot of games are like, it's always a kind of a conversation where you have to give a lot of time to play because you don't know how to control a game. You never held a controller, or it's hard to move around. You have no idea what's happening. And that's why the games are so good, because there's those kind of games which you don't do much with the controller, or you don't have to move around much. There's not something crazy happening behind you or something like that. It's very simple. It's very chill. It's very calm. And so those type of games, I think, are always a good start. And because you're experiencing a game, but then you're also experiencing the characters and the story around the
Yeah.
characters. So that's, at least for me, that's what draws me in. I am not one of those guys who would go and play Mortal Kombat and defeat someone because I will get defeated. I'm one of those guys who would get defeated and I will never win. So I will get frustrated instead. So instead of going on that frustration route, I would just play the games which has that story in it. And I'm all about
Yeah.
dramatic moments. And I love if there's something. It is weird when there's something really wrong is happening with the character. It's like it's a dark route and the story is dark. I love it. It's so weird to think about say it like this, but I love these stories because they're so unique and I love experiencing them through games. And so that's what I am. So that's why I always look for those games. And sometimes I find them. They're sometimes easier to play. And it's even more. And I tell sometimes my sister, like, hey, this is a game. Watch it with me, maybe. So yeah, it's an experience. And maybe there's some games that you probably can't try. And I know you have lot less time to work around. So yeah.
I will. I will. You've inspired me. What are your top 5 games of all time?
Oh wow. Okay, so one of them at least is Last of Us, which already has a
No, that's
TV.
super wicked. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh, Last of Us.
Yes.
Last of Us. I saw the show,
Yes.
so I can understand why. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That
Last
was
of Us. Okay.
yeah, that was a long time ago, 2013 it came out. But that is one game. There's a other game that the studio that made this game, No Rest for the Wicked, made called Ori and the Blind Forest. I
Yeah.
love that game. It was one of my favorites. And then there is, I think, there's Marvel Spider-Man is a game. So I love that one, Marvel Spider-Man. And Life is Strange is another game which is very cozy and but very dark. But I love that. And I think there's another game called Firewatch, which is also kind of cozy. You don't do much there, but the story is so engaging that by the end of it, I was like, no, like it ended, like that kind of moment. So that's those are kind of like I think my top fives. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Those. Yeah. Okay. The last 2, especially. I'm like, maybe I should. You should get in on those.
Yeah.
You feel like you lost your friends, like when you end when you finish a good book, you kind of like,
Yes.
or for me, it's a good television series or a book, and it's like you living in this world for a little bit, and then you're like, where did my friends go?
Yeah, that happens all the time in games. This one game, Firewatch, the reason why I got so invested emotionally because these two characters they have never met and they finally were supposed to meet, but it still didn't happen by the end of it, and something like that, and or there were always something would happen in between, and something would separate them all the time. So I was so invested by just the listening to the voice because I never saw the person. So just listening to the voice, I was so invested in that character that I wanted to meet but I just never could. So that would always break me every time in that game. And I was like, how is this game doing that? This is weird.
And they never, at the end, they never meet.
Yeah, something would happen and they would never meet. There's some choices that you can make that can probably change some things, I think, towards the end. But the choices I made, that you'd never meet. You could never ever meet each other. You could always listen to because you're always in radio and you're always listening, but you can never meet. You could never meet. So yeah.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Firewatch. That's what
Firewatch.
that one is?
Yes.
Oh my God. I love that.
Yes. Yeah, these are the stories that drives me. And then
Yeah.
it's amazing. And I hope that you one day maybe get to play them because they look also beautiful. Like Ori and the Blind Forest, the game that the studio made before. It looks so beautiful and also hard, but like very beautiful. But yeah, that's just love the beauty and even that game, Ori and the Blind Forest, had a very interesting opening, which just everybody cried when they played it. So yeah, it's just these games give all kinds of experiences all in one place. So it's pretty cool. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
know.
Do you have
those kids know what they're doing in there in that studio.
Yeah, you never know what they're doing there. But with this game, and I know there's more coming out. There's more things that we have not seen about Celine. What has been your biggest takeaway as you have worked in this game and probably still are working?
That it's a it's scary out there. Like it's a scary world. It's like you're really out you're really out to protect what you want, and you're out with these, the people affected with the pestilence, and you never know what they will turn into, and um what when they'll be after you. So you can feel like you have all the power in this huge army and everything, but you never know, because it's this thing that is scary, that it's taking over. And I mean, I would be way more scared of everything as me in this world than some of these heroes that we're watching. And it's like, I guess that's what I would say. It's scary. It's scary. I can't say much. That's all I can say. It's scary.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. It is scary, and these characters, I feel like these characters are able to do it so well. I'm like, oh, these guys are built for that place at this point. But yeah, this is scary, and whatever I've seen so far in the game is fabulous. And I am super excited to see what's there more, and what more we could see, and what more we can find story wise, and how the character progresses and all. But at the end, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time today, talking with me about all about acting and this character in this game, and about games at the same time. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been just so much fun, and I hope I didn't tongue your ear off. I'm sorry. But
No.
anyway, I'm very, very honored, and I'm so excited that this game is out, and we'll all look forward to seeing where it goes.